You're watching Major League Baseball's virtual network. I'm Nicholas Callis. These are your game recaps, standing updates, and league leaders from Tuesday, May the 5th, 2020. Starting with this game, the Angels played the Red Sox, and the Angels have disrupted the Red Sox little winning streak that they were on. Final score of this one was 3-2, although the game went into extra innings, but the Angels scored in the top of the 10th, and the Red Sox could not come back. Keenan Middleton got the win, Colton Brewer got the loss, and Hansel Robles now in double digits with saves. He has 10. The Pittsburgh Pirates played the New York Yankees and lost by a run. The Pirates had some offense in the third and seventh innings, but the Yankees won ultimately with their 5-run fourth inning. Chad Green got the win, Robbie Erlin got the loss, and Aroldis Chapman now with 7 saves on the season. The Toronto Blue Jays beat the Baltimore Orioles again, final score 2-1. The Orioles had the lead all the way up till the 9th inning when the Blue Jays walked it off. The Colorado Rockies played the Detroit Tigers in this interleague game, and the Rockies won Game 2, final score 4-1. Yancy Almonte got the win, Matthew Boyd got the loss, and Wade Davis now has 6 saves on the season. The Texas Rangers beat the Cleveland Indians by a score of 5-3. The Rangers got 4 runs just in the second inning, tacked on an extra one in the 7th. And the Indians scored in the 3rd, the 7th, and the 9th, but could not make a comeback. Jordan Lyles got the win, Savali got the loss, and Jose Leclerc now with 8 saves on the season. The Tampa Bay Rays played the Chicago White Sox in a game that featured heavy amounts of offense. The Rays, however, were propelled by a 6-run 5th inning, and they didn't give up the lead after that point. And though the White Sox responded with a 4-run 5th, they were nowhere near being able to come back and beat the Rays. Jalen Beeks now has 6 saves on the season out of the bullpen. Evan Marshall 2-3 now on the year, and Nick Anderson 12 saves with the Rays this year. The Kansas City Royals beat the Houston Astros. Final score of this game was 3-2. Jake Newberry got the win, and Abreu got the loss. Brian Abreu got the loss. This game went into extra innings. The Royals got 2 runs in the 4th, and the Astros tied it up in the 8th, but the Royals walked it off in the bottom of the 10th, and this has snapped their elongated losing streak. The Royals now in the win column. They have 10 total wins on the season, and you'll see that coming up in standings. The San Francisco Giants got shut out by the Minnesota Twins. The final score of this game was 8-0. Jose Barrios got the win, and Johnny Cueto got the loss. The Seattle Mariners played the Oakland Athletics. Final score of this game was 6-2. Justice Sheffield got his first winning decision of the year. Mike Fiers now 1-3, and Hirano got a save as a member of the Mariners, his first of the season. He's not their closer, but he's got a save on him now. In the National League, the Cincinnati Reds beat the New York Mets. Final score of this game was 6-1. The Reds got 3 runs in the first inning, tacked on a couple more 1-run innings, and were able to pull away with the win. The Mets only scored in the first inning and were blanked after that. The Arizona Diamondbacks played the Washington Nationals and lost by a couple runs. The Diamondbacks got all 3 of their runs in the top of the 4th inning. Meanwhile, the Nationals were able to score in the 2nd, the 3rd, the 6th, the 7th, and the 8th inning. Ronis Elias got the win, Merrill Kelly got the loss, and Sean Doolittle continues to climb up the leaderboards for saves. He has 13 on the season. The Milwaukee Brewers lost to the Miami Marlins. Final score of this game was 3-2. Each team only scored in 1 inning. The Marlins just had the inning where they scored more than the Brewers. The Marlins got 3 runs in the 2nd. The Brewers got 2 runs in the 4th. Eliezer Hernandez got the win. He's still undefeated out of the bullpen. Brandon Woodruff got the loss. And Brandon Kintzler now with 10 saves on the year with the Marlins. The Atlanta Braves played the Philadelphia Phillies and won by a score of 2-0. The only team to score was the Braves in the 7th inning. Every other inning saw a 0 on the scoreline. Mike Fultonavich got the win, Aaron Nola got the loss, and Will Smith now with 10 saves on the season with the Braves. The San Diego Padres again have lost to the St. Louis Cardinals. Final score of this game was 5-1. The Padres struck first in the top of the 1st, but then were answered immediately by the Cardinals, who scored 4 runs in the bottom of the 1st and then tacked on a run in the 2nd inning, and Neither of these two scored after that. Dakota Hudson got the win, Chris Paddock got the loss, and Giovanni Gallegos now has 13 saves on the season. The Los Angeles Dodgers beat the Chicago Cubs again. This one was by a score of 8-0. A lot more of a gap between the score than it was yesterday. Alex Wood got the win, and John Lester got the loss. Taking a look at standings now, first the American League East. The New York Yankees still at the top of this division. They're on a 4-game winning streak. They beat the Pirates today. The Orioles are in second place. They have a 20-16 record. They're 3 games back in the division, though they've lost their last couple games to the Blue Jays. The Tampa Bay Rays won today. They are 20-17, 3.5 games back in the division. The Toronto Blue Jays on a 2-game winning streak, most recently beating the Orioles. They're 17-19 now. They're 6 games back in the division. And the Boston Red Sox back to their losing ways. They're now 14-23. They're still in last place, 9.5 games back of the AL East. In the American League Central, the Chicago White Sox, though they lost today, they're still at the top of this division, 22-13. The Minnesota Twins, closely behind them, 1.5 games back, 21-15 is their record. They're on a 2-game winning streak. The Cleveland Indians lost today. They're 21-17, 2.5 games back in the division. The Detroit Tigers are 13-23. They are 9.5 games back of the division. And the Kansas City Royals beat the Astros today. Their losing streak is now over, and congratulations to them. They are the last team that made it to 10 wins this season. And in the American League West, the Oakland Athletics are 21-17, though they've lost their last couple games. They're still in first place. The Houston Astros are 19-17. They're a game back of the division. The Los Angeles Angels are 16-18. They're 3 games back in the division on a 2-game winning streak. The Seattle Mariners are 17-21. They're 4 games back in the division. And the Texas Rangers are 15-20. They're 4.5 games back in the division. In the National League, the Washington Nationals are 23-11. They're on a 2-game winning streak, and they're atop the NL East. The Miami Marlins are 21-16. They won today, and they're 4 games back in the division. The Philadelphia Phillies are 18-18. They're 6 games back in the division. The Atlanta Braves are 18-20, 7 games back in the division. And the New York Mets are 15-21. They're 9 games back in the division in last place. In the National League Central, the Milwaukee Brewers are 20-16. They lead this division. The St. Louis Cardinals have passed the Chicago Cubs. The Cardinals are now 19-18. They're 1.5 games back, and they are on a 2-game winning streak, most recently beating the Padres. The Cubs on a 3-game losing streak now. They've most recently lost to the Dodgers. They're 18-19, 2.5 games back in the division. The Pittsburgh Pirates lost today. They are 14-21, 5.5 games back in the division. As are the Reds, who are tied with the Pirates for last place. The Reds 14-21, 5.5 games back. And in the National League West, a tight race still between the Dodgers and the Padres. The Dodgers have beaten the Cubs in the first 2 games of the series they're in. They're 23-12. They now lead the NL West. The Padres have lost 2 straight to the Cardinals. They are 23-13. They're a half game back of the division. The San Francisco Giants are 17-19. They're 6.5 games back of the division. They're on a 5-game losing streak as well. The Arizona Diamondbacks are 16-19. They're 7 games back of the division. And the Colorado Rockies won today, though they're still 13-21, and they are still in last place, 9.5 games back of the division. Taking a look at league leaders now, we're starting with batting average leaders in the American League. Carlos Santana has passed Chris Davis for the lead in this category. He has a .392 batting average. Chris Davis still closely behind, though. He has a .390 batting average. That's good for second best in the league. And DJ LeMahieu, a .381 batting average. He's third best in the American League. In the National League, Ronald Acuna Jr., .370 batting average. His average continuing to fall toward the end of April and now in the beginning of May, though he still leads this category. Jonathan Villar, a few points back from him. He's at a .356 batting average. That's good for second best in the league. And Paul Goldschmidt batting .353. That's good for third best in the National League. Hits leaders in the American League. Chris Davis, 57 hits, still leads baseball, or at least the American League. DJ LeMahieu and Jose Abreu have 56 hits. That's tied for second best, and Miguel Andujar closely behind them with 54. In the National League, Jonathan Villar has 53 hits, and Ronald Acuna Jr., good for second best. He's the second National League player to make it to 50 or more hits. At-bat leaders in the American League, Jose Abreu, Miguel Andujar, and Whit Merrifield all tied for the league best with 151. JD Martinez, one behind that. He's the former consistent leader. He has 150, tied with Marcus Semien and Matt Olson for fourth best. In the National League, Ozzie Albies, 151 at-bats for him. Jonathan Villar with 149, and Bryce Harper with 144. Doubles leaders in the American League, Miguel Andujar and Jose Iglesias still leading this category with 15. Marcus Semien is third best in the American League with 14. In the National League, Jonathan Villar has 17. He's pulling away with this lead now. Trey Turner has 14. That's good for second best in the league. And Christian Yelich with 13. Triples leaders in the American League, the lead still belongs to Jose Altuve, who has 4. Oscar Mercado and Whit Merrifield still tied for second best with 3. In the National League, Jonathan Villar still at the top of this list. He has 5 triples on the season. Andrew McCutchen, Trey Turner, Hunter Pence, Asdrubal Cabrera, and Chris Bryant all tied for second best in the league with 3 triples. Home run leaders in the American League. Chris Davis still atop this category with 18. He's trailed by Austin Meadows, Josh Donaldson, and Matt Olson, who have 14. In the National League, Ronald Acuna Jr. still leading this category. He has 14 total. However, he is being trailed closely now by Paul Goldschmidt, who has 13, and Max Muncy, third best in the league with 12. RBI leaders in the American League, Lourdes Gurriel Jr. and Chris Davis tied for the league best with 39, and then Jose Abreu and DJ LeMahieu each tied for third best in the league with 36 RBIs. In the National League, Paul Goldschmidt still has this lead by plenty. He has 36 RBIs. Cody Bellinger with 28, good for second best, and Bryce Harper has tied Max Muncy and Corey Seager for third best in the league with 27. Runs scored leaders in the American League, Yohan Moncada tops this category now. He has 32 runs scored on the year. Chris Davis and Jose Abreu are tied for second best in the league with 31, and Matt Olson has 30. He's the only other American League player with 30 or more this season in the American League so far. In the National League, Ronald Acuna Jr. is still leading the category in runs scored with 33. Paul Goldschmidt and Trey Turner, the next best with 29. Stolen base leaders in the American League, Adalberto Mondesi has 9. Malik Smith, Shin-Soo Choo, and Mike Trout tied for second best with 7. In the National League, Starling Marte continues to lead this category. He has 13 stolen bases. Trey Turner has 10. He's the only other National League player with double-digit steal totals. And you have Tim LeCastro, Jonathan Villar, and Ronald Acuna Jr. tied for third best with 9. Walks leaders in the American League, Mike Trout tops this category again. He is the sole leader with 23. Then you have a 4-way tie for second best. Yordan Alvarez, Shin-Soo Choo, Robbie Grossman, and Alex Bregman all tied with 22. In the National League, Rhys Hoskins still leading this category with 29. And the next best trails by 6, and it's a 4-way tie between Asdrubal Cabrera, Brandon Belt, Freddie Freeman, and Daniel Descalzo for second best. On-base percentage leaders in the American League, Mike Trout has a .458 on-base percentage, Chris Davis second best with a .454, and DJ LeMahieu third best with a .447. In the National League, Ronald Acuna Jr. has a .456 on-base percentage. He leads this category. Paul Goldschmidt behind him with a .437, and Dansby Swanson has a .422 on-base percentage. Slugging percentage leaders in the American League, Chris Davis at .822, Mike Trout at .717, and Josh Donaldson has fallen below the 700 threshold. He's at a .698 now. In the National League, Ronald Acuna Jr. has fallen far below 800 now, though he still leads this category. He has a .785 slugging percentage. Paul Goldschmidt slugging .719, and Corey Seager third best with a .702. On-base percentage plus slugging percentage leaders in the American League, Chris Davis 1.276, and then you have Mike Trout and Josh Donaldson rounding out the top 3. In the National League, Ronald Acuna Jr. leads OPS with a 1.241. He's trailed by Paul Goldschmidt and Corey Seager, who round out the top 3. Taking a look at pitcher statistics now, wins leaders among American League pitchers. Jalen Beeks, though he comes out of the bullpen regularly, has earned 6 winning decisions, and that tops the American League as of right now. Asher Wojciechowski and Lucas Giolito each tied for second best with 5, and then several players have at least 4 wins and are tied for 4th best. In the National League, Pablo Lopez, Jack Flaherty, Jimmy Nelson, Walker Buehler, and Nelson Lamet crowd up the league lead. They all have 5 wins, and Nelson, being somebody who comes out of the bullpen for the Dodgers, still has amassed that many wins. One of the talented pitchers in the National League. Those with the least amount of losses are shown here, and you see there are still 5 pitchers in the American League that don't have a losing decision. Dylan Bundy, Tyler Glasnow, Asher Wojciechowski, Reynaldo Lopez, and Kenta Maeda, all still lossless this season so far. In the National League, still 5 undefeated in this league as well among pitchers. Caleb Smith, Trevor Bauer, Walker Buehler, Dinelson Lamet, and Kevin Gausman. No losses yet this season. Saves leaders in the American League, Brad Hand tops all of baseball. He's still at 15, and that still leads all relief pitchers. Nick Anderson and Liam Hendricks tied for second best with 12. And you have Michael Givens and Matt McGill tied for 4th best with 11. In the National League, it's a 3-way tie between Josh Hader, Sean Doolittle, and Giovanni Gallegos. They all have 13 saves, and they're tied for the best in the National League. American League earned run average leaders. Tyler Glasnow still has an ERA under 2. He has a 1.96 and still leads the American League. In the National League, Trevor Bauer is still posting an ERA under 1. Walker Buehler, Mike Soroka, and Caleb Smith all have an ERA under 2, and they make up the top 4 in the National League. Home runs allowed among American League pitchers. Gio Gonzalez, Brandon Bailey, and John Means tied for the league best. They have allowed the least amount of home runs with 2. In the National League, Garrett Richards still has let up a singular home run. Caleb Smith and Trevor Bauer tied for second best with 2. Shutouts among American League pitchers. Garrett Cole and Masahiro Tanaka still top this category. They have 2 shutouts apiece. In the National League, Walker Buehler and Zach Wheeler still top of this category. You have Pablo Lopez, Jacob deGrom, David Price, and Alex Wood. Alex Wood joined this category today. He has 1 shutout now on the season. Strikeout leaders in the American League. Garrett Cole bursts out with his dominance as usual in this department. 66 strikeouts. That now leads the American League. Carlos Carrasco second best with 59, and then Lucas Giolito and Charlie Morton tied for third best with 57. In the National League, Yu Darvish leading this category still after his performance yesterday against the Dodgers. He has 63 strikeouts total. Chris Archer with 62, and Clayton Kershaw with 61. Complete games among American League pitchers. Garrett Cole has 2, as does Masahiro Tanaka. And then in the National League, Walker Buehler and Zach Wheeler have 2 complete games under their belt this season. Everybody else you see on the list, on both lists, has just 1. Innings pitched leaders, and Garrett Cole has taken the top spot by 2/3 of an inning. He has 54 2/3 of an inning pitched. That's good for the league best. Hyunjin Ryu has 54 flat. It's good for second best, and Shane Bieber with 52 1/3 innings pitched. That's good for third best in the American League. In the National League, Johnny Cueto with 54 2/3 innings. He still leads the NL. Aaron Nola with 53 innings pitched now, and Jacob deGrom third best with 51 2/3 innings pitched. Walks allowed, or least amount of walks allowed. Carlos Carrasco, Ivan Nova, and Jay Happ all tied for the league best, the league least, with 7. In the National League, Madison Bumgarner still tops this category with just 4 walks allowed. Whip leaders among American League pitchers, Zach Plesac still with a whip under 1. The only one in the American League. In the National League, there are 3 pitchers with a whip under 1. Walker Buehler, Pablo Lopez, and Mike Soroka. Pitching WAR leaders, Garrett Cole with the highest now with a 1.4. He's trailed by Carlos Carrasco and Shane Bieber, who have a 1.3. In the National League, Yu Darvish and Chris Archer top this category. They're close to each other with a 1.5. And then Walker Buehler, Jacob deGrom, Steven Strasburg, and Caleb Smith all have a 1.3 WAR. In the American League, batting WAR leaders. It's very close between these top three, and even going as far as top 5. You have Chris Davis with a 2.8, and DJ LeMahieu and Mike Trout each have a 2.7. Josh Donaldson with a 2.6, and Yohan Moncada is a 2.5. That's the top 5 batting WAR leaders in the American League. In the National League, Ronald Acuna Jr. still has a 3.5 WAR. He still leads this category. He's also still the only player in baseball with a WAR over 3. Jonathan Villar, second best with a 2.7. And Christian Yelich, third best with a 2.3. These have been your game recaps, standing updates, and league leaders from Tuesday, May the 5th, 2020. I'm Nicholas Callis. You've been watching Major League Baseball's Virtual Network.